Hello everybody and welcome back to the F1 2021 Co-op Career Mode with me, Dan, and my co-commentator Nick, who unfortunately will not be joining us today as I forgot to record both of our commentaries during the race, so I'll be taking this one solo. We're in Italy today, the first race in Italy out of two. We're going to begin Monza later on in the season, but today we are in Imola, the first time for either of us during one of these Co-op Career Mode seasons. We are a little bit behind, of course. This was recorded quite some time ago. Likewise, Jeddah, although it has now been released, will probably not be in this season for quite some time. Look around Christmas time for that to happen. In the meantime, though, don't forget to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new race. And now we'll move on to the starting grid for today's race. And it's Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris locking out the front row today. Hamilton with a great qualifying for the first time in a while. Then it's Daniel Ricciardo and George Russell, both of their teammates. Hopefully they'll have a great time today. Then it's Carlos Sainz in 5th place once again and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Yuki Tsunoda and Guan Yu Zhou line up behind them in the Ferrari and the McLaren. Then it's the Alpine duo of Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon in 9th and 10th. Behind them, it's Nicholas Latifi and Antonio Giovinazzi in the AlphaTauri and the Aston Martin. Then the other Aston Martin of Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen in the Williams. Then it's Pierre GASLY with a poor qualifying and Nikita Mazepin with a good qualifying for a change. Valtteri BOTTAS and Mick Schumacher line up on the penultimate row, and on the back row it is Justin FRESHPOT and Radiant Slothz. Let's get on with today's race. Now, as I mentioned, it is just me joining you for the race today, and for any of you familiar with the channel, this site may be familiar to you. You may be well aware of what is about to happen as we pull away and the Codemasters game devs work on full display once again with this flawless game of a Haas inside of an Alfa Romeo on the back row. Going down into turn 1, it's very busy up ahead. Justin FRESHPOT did, of course, get the better pull away, much better traction for his Haas than in the Alfa Romeo, it seems. Unfortunately, though, it seems that when he gets up to speed, everybody else is going much faster, as he has a look down the inside of Valtteri BOTTAS, my teammate, and very fairly gives him enough room, but Bottas, just with the extra speed and probably a little bit more downforce, is able to just pull around that corner just a bit quicker than the Haas and leaves him well behind. As we come down now into this very tricky section, it's very challenging for any of you who've tried it. Justin FRESHPOT goes extremely wide there, a bit caught off guard by the dirty air and being out of practice with this circuit. As we start to come down to the final couple of corners, you can see Justin FRESHPOT already dropped half a second to Valtteri BOTTAS. However, it doesn't matter too much because neither mine nor his speed was very good around here, and we certainly did struggle on this circuit that we're not familiar with whatsoever. As we rejoin on lap 2, and of course you can see the gap has somewhat stayed the same, although if you look up front, Justin FRESHPOT goes much wide there and forces Radiant Slothz to cut the corner as he rejoins. But yeah, the leaders out front definitely pulling away, and this is the sort of mess we're having to deal with. The Haas and the Alfa Romeo both being maxed out with Tier 1 facilities, or Tier 2 facilities. I think it's Tier 1, and not enough money to upgrade them. We're stuck with several tens of thousands of R&D points that we can't spend. As we come down, we're at started lap 3 any second now. Of course, we're going to have the benefit of the DRS very shortly, and Justin FRESHPOT not too far behind Valtteri BOTTAS now, up ahead. He's actually in the middle of a fight with Mick Schumacher as they go side by side into turn 2 and 3. That's going to cost them some time. And as we can see here, it certainly cost them quite a bit of time. Bottas has dropped back, and Justin FRESHPOT is now within DRS range. We might see history in the making here. A 2021 spec Haas overtaking another car. He's tucked into the slipstream. The DRS is open, unfortunately. Doesn't look as though he's just got the straight line speed, and he's going to have to follow Bottas for yet another lap. Of course, it did look as though he went in slightly deep on the first part of that chicane, and will be looking to capitalise here. as we jump a much tighter line on Justin FRESHPOT, and we go to look up the inside. And given history, leaving plenty of room on the outside of the corner, and even drive over the grass a little bit. And you see the much tighter line we're able to take through here. Justin FRESHPOT struggling with the downforce that car, or lack thereof of it, as we nearly run into the back of him as he actually makes this corner for one of the first times during this race. And Bottas certainly compromising his race up ahead, driving much slower, dropping back from Schumacher, which will be a relief to him, and definitely not giving him any kind of help. As we see now, once again, Justin FRESHPOT and Radiant Slothz we're about to pull in to the slipstream with the DRS. Overtake is on. Using as much of the ERS as we can, as Justin FRESHPOT easily passed Bottas, and we go to look up the inside as well, but there's a yellow flag up ahead. We have to back out of it. That is Antonio Giovinazzi, who has crashed out of the race. He is in the gravel, and Justin FRESHPOT with a big accident there. Seems to have crashed into the side of our car, and thankfully not damaged it at all. Bottas is out of the session, and the safety car has been deployed. And in typical fashion, the Ferrari engine has exploded, putting Radiant Slothz out of the race, leaving Giovinazzi, Bottas, and now Radiant Slothz at the bottom of the table, DNFing. Justin FRESHPOT, although he's going to have to come into the pit lane, will sit in a comfortable 17th, and we'll get to continue the race. This is the onboard from Justin FRESHPOT. You can see he's much closer right now, and definitely got more speed than Bottas with the DRS open. One of the first times you'll ever see that happen in Formula 1. As we come in, this is the incident where Giovinazzi's off in the gravel, completely inexplicitly. We have no idea how he got there. And it looks as though one of those little sausage curbs was the culprit. One hit on Radiant Slothz and the never on Valtteri BOTTAS, tearing a wheel off of his car. And as we enter spectator mode, of course, we have the compulsory Codemasters crash. And I'm kicked out of the game, only to rejoin a few laps later. The safety car is out, and I scramble to get some footage here. Unfortunately, leaving the spectator menu open as I was fiddling with some stuff in the background, trying to set up a stream at the same time. Justin FRESHPOT closing in on Sergio Perez, who's made a very smart pit stop at the moment, because as you can see, looking up the field, there's still quite a few back markers that haven't come into the pits, so Perez putting himself in a strong position. Unfortunately, Justin FRESHPOT not able to close the gap and get past him in the pit lane. He's going to have to try to attempt it on track. And even when he does that, he's going to have to try and clear enough space to nullify the penalty. As we rejoin one lap later at the restart, it's Nicholas Latifi, followed by Max Verstappen and Nikita Mazepin, of all people, in third place. And it's Stroll, Leclerc, Ocon, Sainz, Norris, Hamilton, and Joe. As we're underway once again, I don't think we're going to see too many overtakes from the front runners at the moment, given that one of them is Alpha Tauri, and there's a lot of Williams up there as well. And there might be a bit of chopping and changing around there as I was trying to figure out who to follow. Do I stick with Nick, who's likely to be stuck at the back of the field for the entire time? We see George Russell touched by another car. He gets punted off into the gravel where Giovinazzi was. And now Pierre GASLY is defending from Daniel Ricciardo, who unsurprisingly is right at the back. Justin FRESHPOT up the inside of his teammate there. And, well, that was an exciting start. George Russell in the Red Bull, knocked into the gravel. Justin FRESHPOT making an overtake. We're about to see the restart from his perspective. It's certainly got a little bit busy down here at the back of the field. You see that 3-second penalty there. Unsure what that was for. I mean, if it was to do with the crash that he had earlier, a little bit unnecessary from the FIA to have awarded that to him. As you see, there are lots of side-by-side. I think that's Tsunoda touching George Russell and sending him into the Nether Realm, as Perez is trying to get past Schumacher, Ricciardo trying to get past GASLY. And now we're back on board with Nicholas Latifi, the race leader. He's got both Williams behind him. Lance Stroll has dropped a position to Charles Leclerc, who's having a very good start to the season. And in typical fashion, the AlphaTauri and both Williams come in. That will no doubt destroy Mazepin's race, although that could be well deserved. And Justin Freshpot leaps all the way up the field to 11th. And given that Mazepin is way down the field, there's probably a small chance that he is actually going to get overtaken again. So Justin Freshpot not on to finish last. As now I'm cycling through trying to figure out who to look at. We've got Esteban Ocon here. He's defending from Lando Norris, the current defending world champion. Up ahead, we got Carlos Sainz in the McLaren, returning once again after Justin Freshpot booted him from the team for Season 3. And Norris quite easily passed the Alpine, which is starting to struggle. And once again now, Lewis Hamilton lining up behind Esteban Ocon, as are the rest of the queue that is formed behind him. Daniel Ricciardo actually up into the points. Good to see that he's actually back on track again. He's had a disaster of a career since he left McLaren. We see Lewis Hamilton quite easily passed on the DRS, and they'll go through without any issues. So now it becomes the turn of former rookie Guan Yu Zhou, joining the McLaren team last year, formerly joining the Mercedes team for half the season before he replaced Robert Schwartzman. He gets past easily enough. We've got a yellow flag up ahead. Lando Norris has jumped into second. It appears as though Lando Norris has cheated his way onto the podium once again, punting Carlos Sainz into the gravel, who tumbles down to 9th place. Now you may be wondering where Justin Freshpot is. He's in the barrier. I can't remember who he said had driven into him, but someone had definitely exuberantly defended one of their defensive moves and pushed him into the wall, as we see the inside of the Alfa Romeo garage for no apparent reason, which means that once again it's Ferrari winning another race. This is their second ever win, and Charles Leclerc's second ever win. The entire time that we've been doing these seasons, of course, the first season dominated by Mercedes, the second season dominated by Red Bull, as again in Season 3, and now it looks as though Ferrari are having their day. That is back-to-back wins for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari. Excellent job to them. As we see the winner's podium now, Charles Leclerc celebrating away. Maybe we'll never see a Ferrari on the podium again, so we better enjoy this moment whilst it lasts, as Lando Norris has to live with runner-up once again, and Lewis Hamilton back on the podium, although he has not been on that top step for quite some time now, almost 2 seasons. We'll have to see if he can make an improvement in the near future. And there we have it. That is another first place for Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari team, only their second over the 4 seasons that we've done so far. He was followed by Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, who of course we saw on the podium, with Guan Yu Zhou getting promoted up to 4th place after his teammate was punted into the gravel. Daniel Ricciardo with one of the most impressive results he's had in recent times, and Yuki Tsunoda follow him. Then it's Esteban Ocon, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz after his accident, and Pierre Gasly picking up the final point. 2 DNFs, Justin Freshpot and Radiant Slothz. So over in the Drivers' Championship, it's Charles Leclerc on a maximum of 50 points for the opening 2 races of the season. Lando Norris, the defending world champion, has to settle for 34 points and sit in the first runner-up position in second. Then it's Yuki Tsunoda finishing the rest of the Ferrari sandwich around Norris on 20 points, and George Russell follows him on 18. Then we get to Guan Yu Zhou in the McLaren on 16 points, narrowly ahead of Lewis Hamilton in his Mercedes. Then we have Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll hanging on in the top 10, Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen. So over in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari once again leading out of the blocks, followed by Red Bull just 18 points behind. Then we have Mercedes in a battle with McLaren for 3rd place. Alpine follow them, followed by Aston Martin and Williams, who are strongly ahead of AlphaTauri, the final point-scoring team. Behind them, we have 9th place Haas and 10th place Alfa Romeo on 0 points apiece. That's all for today's race. We'll catch you in the next one.